I know, chasing that dough, hitting that road, getting that money, man. All I know, loading that foe, kicking down doors, getting that money, man. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly. We gon' make it money. We gon' take it Grizzly.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros are comments made by John Fury. John Fury said that he wants his son Tyson Fury to retire because he has nothing left to prove. But before we dive into that, we're just asking you to retweet. If you're on Twitter, we're asking you to retweet a tweet that we sent to Eddie Hearn, basically asking him to give us media passes to the Demetrius Andrade fight in New Hampshire and the Teofimo Lopez George Kambosos fight in Madison Square Garden. So please retweet this if you have the opportunity and the chance to. And so now we're going to move on to comments made by John Fury. And so before we do that, I'm going to introduce this video. Now, my man, Conspiracy G, has called me out that I tell everyone to subscribe, but I don't subscribe. So I'm going to press the subscribe button right now. And I just subscribed to BT Sport Boxing. And this video is courtesy of BT Sport. So please subscribe to BT Sport.
Now, Steve Cunningham a few years ago, remember that? He done a 60, they used to do 2-minute interviews, didn't they, in the back of the Boxing News and that. And they asked him a question. What was your hardest fight you've ever had? He said, without a doubt, Tyson Fury. He said, why? He said, it was like fighting two people in there. The strength of the man, the will to win. You know, he's been down, he keeps getting back up. Unless he's counted out and he can't get up at all and he's out of his senses, this man's going to get to his feet every time, isn't he? But there's only so long you can keep doing that. And I know the fight game inside out. You can't keep going to the well like that. Because all of a sudden you fight one day and a jab will knock you over. Your punch resistance goes through sheer punishment. You know, but he has a good hard-earned rest now. And what he wants to do is up to him. I said, retire. You've done enough. He's won everything. He's got no more to prove.
Yeah.
You know, he's got millions and millions of pounds in the bank. He's secure for life. You know, there's more to life than get your brains rattled, isn't there, to please the public. You know, but he's his own man. He'll do what he's going to do. But for me, I'd like him to call it a draw now. You know, and there'll always be somebody, won't they? Like I said to him the other day.
Yeah, so basically you heard it right there. You heard Big John Fury say that he would like for his son Tyson Fury to retire. Trill Dollar Bill, you heard it. What did you make of it? What are your thoughts?
Listen, I said, you know, there's a chance, you know. Hey, that's why they go Nostradamus. You know, I said there's a chance that he can, you know, beat Deontay Wilder and then ride off in the sunset. You know what I'm saying? And not even, or fight somebody else and not even fight an AJ or do that fight. I was saying that before when that fight didn't even take place. There's a possibility. We never know with Tyson Fury. We don't. But I feel like there's unfinished business. You know, undisputed is still looming. There's still something that's attainable. That should still be a goal. I don't feel like I want him to, you know, try to unify. These is other things, you know, to try to be undisputed. Try to be. I don't know, man. I just feel like there's other things to be done. And if you're in, I think that Tyson Fury feels like he has another fight in him. I've been seeing Tyson Fury in the gym. It seems like right after that fight, he realized that, you know, maybe he didn't look too good in that fight because he's been right back to the gym from what I've seen, still working on things. Like his father might want him to retire, but I don't think Tyson Fury is because I think there is still unfinished business. And I really, you know, forget all the talking. Sometimes we get annoyed with Tyson Fury and him talking all the time and saying certain things, but he really is a fighting man. That's what he says. He's a fighting man. And Tyson Fury proved he is a fighting man. And he's better mentally when he is fighting and preparing for fighting when he's in the gym. You know, his wife even said that. You know, she loves the fact when he's right because he's his mind is focused. He's staying away from the drinking and the drugging and everything else, and he's focused. I think Tyson Fury, honestly, to me, he doesn't have nothing to prove. He doesn't have nothing to prove. He's right. He doesn't have nothing to prove. But I would like to see him go and fight these other fighters. Like I would love to see him in there with Dillian. I think Dillian deserves that shot. I would love to see him in there with AJ. I think that would be a wonderful fight. Maybe even a Usyk. There's still things for him to do, you know. So man, listen. Hey, who am I to say? But I think Tyson Fury is not done. He's not done at all. Only thing that I'm concerned about is this one thing that I want to read before I leave. Is dear at Eddie Hearn and at Match from Boxing. The Boxing Bros would like to request media passes to the at Boo Boo Andre fight in New Hampshire and the at Telefimo Lopez fight in Madison Square Garden.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Please contact me with your response to our request. Thank you. And what I would like all of you fans and supporters to do is I would like for y'all to please go and retweet this. You know, y'all always asking what y'all can do to support. You know, we don't ask for money, so we would like for y'all to do it. All we would like y'all to do is please go and retweet this tweet. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Conspiracy.
Man, first, salute to
Wait. Oh, is it Conspiracy? What's the name right now, G?
Oh, it's G1.
G1. Go ahead, G. G1.
G1.
But you know, salute to BT Sports. You know, like they get them exclusives. Like my man John Fury looking like he was at a soccer tailgate. You know what I'm saying? Talking about his son, so that was dope. But I'm looking at it from a father's perspective, right? But well, first let me do this. I low key disagree with Trill, and Trill within his comment, he proved that Tyson Fury still has something to prove. Undisputed. I think a guy of his caliber should reach that, right? Then you have nothing to prove because it's like there's no doubt in anyone's mind you're the best of the best. So
I mean, I just want real quick. I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry. When I mean like prove, I mean he doesn't have nothing to prove as far as like, you know, he came back from depression. Came back from being over 500-something pounds. He don't have to prove to nobody nothing. He proved that he was mentally strong and that he was a warrior to come back from everything that he came back from. That's what I was alluding to. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
That's a segue to my next point. Mm-hmm. John Fury's looking at it from a father's perspective. He's seen his son reach rock bottom. And I think, if I had a son that's battling mental health issues, who's in a violent sport like boxing, right? I think about all of those football players, right? Who get so many concussions, and then some of these guys are suicidal. Some of these guys are really violent, you know, because of the sport that they're in. Tyson Fury, he went from low to low all the way up top. What happens to Tyson Fury if he experiences his first loss? You know, these are things that a family member has to consider. And so John Fury's probably thinking, is it even worth continuing? Because there is a chance you could lose. And remember, he's talking about, you know, you're going through these wars, you know, your punch resistance declines, you know what I'm saying? All of this stuff, it's you're not the same fighter that you were a couple of fights ago. So you could be fighting a guy that's essentially your inferior, but because you've been in so many wars, so many battles, you might lose. And then after that, you're thinking, how will he respond? You know, will he become more depressed? Would his mental condition affect him even more? How would that play a factor within the family makeup, within his wife, within his children, things of that nature? So I think John Fury's talking more like a father as opposed to a trainer or fan or anything. So I think he's just looking at it from behind the scenes that we may not be seeing, and that gets him kind of nervous. But then again, this is the same guy who was like, yo, Tyson, you shouldn't take the rematch with Wilder. You know, so I don't know, you know, but I respect his opinion because he knows Tyson Fury on a more personal level than any of us.
All right, Ned the TBE.
I'm not feeling what John Fury is saying at all. And this, what I'm about to respond to is directly at John Fury. And I'm going to quote the great musical composer and artist Lil Jon. You scared? You scared? You acting like a blank. You scared. You scared. You scared. Stop acting like a blank. You scared.
The
All right.
views and opinions of Ned the TV do not reflect the Boxing Bros as a whole and all the other faces you see on the screen.
You know.
My God.
So, John, your boy came out of retirement for a reason, and let him prove himself, yo. You know, you want to throw in the towel early, but let him try to make. Let's try to end the sunset on the brighter side of his career instead of just tapping out when you feel like it's getting more too dangerous. That's what he's here for. That's what he's was born to do. He's an elite heavyweight boxer, and why would you want to leave so much on the table? Let's get it done. Let's see what happens. You know, and at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, he just loses, and he done something. He's accomplished something so great where he's made some of the best fights happen in the heavyweight division. So let's not stop that from happening. Like I don't know what Dark Cloud you're under right now, John Fury, but it's not that bad. Let Tyson finish out his career the best way possible.
So I mean, I'm in between. I kind of agree with G a little bit, agree with a little bit of Trill. Ned, no comment. I think John Fury speaking strictly from a dad's perspective. It's like as a dad, he's seen his son reach the pinnacle in beating Vladimir Klitschko. He watched his son go through a lot in terms of battling mental health illness, obesity, you know, drug and alcohol abuse. And so he sees his son now recapture the title, have these physically taxing trilogies with Deontay Wilder. And he goes, man, you did it, son. Like you picked yourself back up. You became champion again. And man, you made enough money to last you a lifetime. What parent would want to see their kid keep fighting after that? It's like you're set financially. You've gotten yourself back and you put yourself back in contention. You've done it all basically. You know, from another standpoint, you've held every belt there is to hold. You've had every belt, not at the same time, but you had every belt there is to hold. You've done everything. That's from a dad's perspective who's looking at their son and wants their son to be safe. And you heard what he said. How many times can you go to the well? How many times can you keep getting knocked down and keep getting back up? At one point, you're going to go down and stay down. And he's right. Trill brought this up the other time, like last week, I think. Carlos Baldomir used to have the best beard, the best chin. We seen Baldomir take some shots until he fought Canelo, and then he was just out cold because, like, there's a certain amount of punches you can take. And your punch resistance is just gonna go. We were talking about the homie James Kirkland, and salute to James Kirkland because he follows us on social media. And James Kirkland is a guy who's given some really exciting fights. And we were talking about what it takes to be fight of the year in earlier segments. And James Kirkland's one of those guys who gives you all he has, blood and guts and exciting fights. People talk about Hagler Hearns, one of the great fights. Like the most brutal 3 rounds, like my dad always tells me. But let me tell you, James Kirkland versus El Perro the dog. James Kirkland versus Enfrelo Angulo. If you've never seen Kirkland Angulo, do it now. Go on and go on YouTube and look up James Kirkland versus Angulo.
You're gonna love that fight.
That to me, when you talk about fights that where you're talking about a legendary fight between Hagler and Hearns. There aren't too many in that class. That fight's in that class. But the thing about it is, James Kirkland was in so many wars like that his punch resistance has left him, and now he gets hurt. James Kirkland's a man. When you see his name on the billing, you know you're going to see action. Like he was one of those guys, and eventually the punch resistance faded. And you know, we love James Kirkland for what he's done for the sport, what he's provided for the sport, the excitement he's provided to the sport. But I'm just citing him as an example of how like punch resistance fades, and he used to take some monster shots. And so Fury's worried about that from a dad's perspective. Now, From an objective perspective, does he have nothing left to prove? I disagree. He has 2 quality wins that I consider quality. Not to say that he doesn't have other good wins, but when I say quality wins, it's Vladimir Klitschko. He beat the man who reigned supreme for 10 years. He's the one who dethroned him. That's one good win. And Deontay Wilder, when he beat Deontay Wilder, he took the WBC championship. He defended it in their trilogy. And he has those victories over Wilder. But again, those are 2 guys. He has those 2 wins. His victory over Derek Chisora, I think it's a solid win. But again, we've seen other people beat Derek Chisora. He has 2 really good wins. And yes, he's held every single belt, but he hasn't held them at the same time. He hasn't been undisputed. He's dubbed the lineal champ. That is true. But let's not act like there isn't debate about that. There was in a time when Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko both were reigning supreme in the heavyweight division. They were brothers. So they never fought each other to see who was the best. They never brought the titles together. And Lennox retired. So we needed that to find out who was actually the man, who was actually the baddest person on the planet. We don't have that in boxing right now. That's why being undisputed at this particular point in time is very important, because you would finally put the belts, the lineal, everything in order. Nobody beat Lennox. Lennox retired. And I think it was Vladimir Klitschko versus Saunders. They decided that was going to be the fight for the lineal status. But there are many people who feel like Vitaly was the better Klitschko. And we'll never know. But that's why having undisputed in 2021 and 2022 is very important, because it brings order to the heavyweight division. Order we haven't had since 2004. So that's what Fury has to prove. He can prove he's the best of his era. But not only that, he can be the man who brings order back to the heavyweight division. He can prove he can beat somebody other than Deontay Wilder, because let's face it, Deontay Wilder, although, and I stand by it, the man's a champion, the man's a dog, he's earned my respect. That's a quality win, because I believe for anyone to beat Deontay Wilder, you're going to have to take right hands and you're going to have to beat him. He's not going to lie down for you, and I don't think he's going to be easy to beat for anyone, because I think he's going to get his. So I got respect for Wilder. That's a quality win. But he's also the most flawed technically. So you got to show you can beat someone like Dillian. You got to show you can beat someone like Joshua. You got to show you can beat someone like Ruiz. Do I think Fury can do it? Hell yeah. But again, fights aren't won on paper. So he has more to prove. So that's where we disagree. If he retired today, hell of a career, Hall of Famer, all that, 100%. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have nothing left to prove. If he became undisputed, I would say retire on the spot then. You got nothing left to prove.
Please like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel in the comment section, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. I am sitting here on my phone looking at all the retweets that we got. So I'm asking you guys, can y'all please retweet the tweet allowing us to go to the fights, so for media passes. So please, everybody, go and retweet the tweet on Twitter. Thank you. We're the Boxing Bros.
You're welcome. You're all welcome.